Qatar faces a Gulf crisis after an Israeli airstrike in Doha killed Qatari security personnel and Hamas aides, exposing vulnerabilities despite hosting the largest US base in the region. Tehran urges Qatar to expel US forces and host Iranian hypersonic missiles. Doha is weighing Russian S-400s and Tor-M2s to build a sovereign missile shield. Analysts say these events mark a turning point for Gulf security and alliances. Qatar's choices now could reshape the balance of power across the region. An Iranian lawmaker has called on Qatar to expel US forces and allow Iran's Revolutionary Guards to station missiles on Qatari soil in response to regional tensions. Mojtaba Zareh, addressing Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, suggested that the US Army, described as an accomplice of Israel, be removed and that the Revolutionary Guard Aerospace Force deploy Fatah hypersonic missiles in Qatar. In a subsequent post, Zareh reiterated that the Emir should request support from the Revolutionary Guard to station forces on the peninsula.
I suggest that the esteemed Emir of Qatar request assistance from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Aerospace Force for deployment in Qatar. To the dear brother, His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, the esteemed Amir of the State of Qatar, greetings. Respectfully, this is a non-governmental, non-state letter pertaining to me, a member of the political science group at Tarbiyat Motorist University who is now a member of parliament. I suggest expelling the allied and partner American army and the barracks of the Israeli cannibals from the esteemed land of Qatar and requesting the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Aerospace Force organization for the liberation to counter Israeli savagery and defend your sovereignty and noble people, and if deemed appropriate by the Commander-in-Chief, before whom you and that noble people are esteemed, to deploy a unit of Fatah hypersonic missiles in dear Qatar. I pray to the Almighty God for your continued success in protecting the sovereignty and dear people of Qatar.
The remarks come after an Israeli strike in Doha this week killed a Qatari security officer and several members of Hamas. Iran's military said the attack could not have occurred without US support and accused Washington of complicity in what it described as crimes committed by the Israeli government.
The US government is complicit in these crimes, the armed forces said on Wednesday, accusing Washington of backing the Zionist regime's crimes.
President Pezeshkian of Iran called the strike illegal and inhumane, while National Security Chief Ali Larijani urged regional states to prepare for Iran's increasing influence. Qatar hosts the US Al Udeid Air Base, the largest American facility in the Middle East. Iranian officials have expressed support for Doha in the wake of the strike, even though Tehran previously targeted Al Udeid during tensions with Washington and Israel in June. Doha condemned that attack, but emphasized its aim to avoid escalation in the region. The evolving situation highlights ongoing regional friction and Iran's willingness to project influence amid heightened geopolitical sensitivities. In the wake of Israeli strikes, Qatar is considering expanding its missile defense capabilities beyond the US Patriot system, which analysts say shows significant limitations. Restricted firing angles, limited mobility, and embedded mechanisms that could be remotely disabled make the Patriot less reliable for comprehensive national defense. A multi-tiered approach is being discussed, combining long-range S-400s mid-range Vikings, the export version of Russia's Buk M3, and short-range Tor-M2 systems. This configuration could provide layered protection across all altitudes and threat types, covering strategic facilities, ports, VIP residences, and critical infrastructure. The Tor-M2's mobility allows rapid redeployment as threats shift, while the S-400 and Viking systems offer extended coverage against aerial and missile attacks. Qatar has the resources to build a sovereign air defense network, reducing dependence on the US security umbrella. Historical ties with Russia could facilitate access to advanced systems, providing both operational flexibility and enhanced protection. Russian military analyst Igor Korotchenko told Sputnik that Russia is prepared to support Qatar in this effort, noting the strategic importance of the partnership and the capability of Russian systems to meet the country's defense needs. The discussions reflect a broader reassessment of Qatar's security posture and a push toward a more self-reliant defense strategy in an increasingly complex regional environment. Israel's airstrike in Doha this week, targeting senior Hamas leaders, has heightened concerns across the Persian Gulf about the reliability of the United States as a security partner, Washington Post has reported. The strike, which killed relatives and aides of Hamas officials, as well as a Qatari officer, underscored that even a country hosting the largest US military base in the region may be vulnerable. Regional analysts say the attack is prompting Gulf states to reassess their security arrangements and explore measures that could deter future strikes. Senior fellows Ibrahim Al-Asil of the Atlantic Council and Hassan Al-Hassan of the International Institute for Strategic Studies highlighted a growing sense of insecurity among Gulf countries, noting that the US has shown limited willingness to restrain Israel's regional actions.
They are absolutely nervous. They feel they are less safe and less secure and less protected than they were before.
The incident adds to an ongoing erosion of confidence, stemming in part from Washington's strategic pivot toward Asia and decreasing reliance on Middle Eastern energy. Meanwhile, Israel's strike in Doha has allowed Tehran to cast itself as the chief guardian of Arab sovereignty and Palestinian resistance. President Pezeshkian called the strike illegal, inhumane and anti-peace, while National Security Chief Ali Larijani warned the region to prepare for Iran's increasing influence. Tehran contrasts its actions with Israel's, noting that its June missile strike on the US Al Udeid base was preceded by coordination with Qatar to avoid targeting the country. Hardline activists in Iran framed Israel's strike as a lesson for US allies, and commentators suggest it could push Gulf states closer to Tehran. Qatar has emphasized that its partnership with the US remains strong and is convening an emergency summit of Arab and Muslim nations, while also sending officials to Washington to reaffirm security cooperation. Analysts predict Gulf states may pursue enhanced regional coordination and more explicit guarantees from the US, recognizing that reliance on a single external ally may no longer suffice in a volatile regional environment.